What's up, guys? MeatyLock here, and today we're back in action for another video. Today we're going to be checking out the TLC patch for the upcoming Dino update coming to ARK. Now, in the Community Crunch 114, the Dino TLC, which is the Tender Loving Care patch that we've all been expecting for a long time now. They've been talking about it for a couple years, well, maybe not a couple years, but over a year. They wanted to go back through because their newer dinos have a lot of features and look really cool that some of the other older dinos don't necessarily have. They've kind of progressed, and as they've added team members and all that kind of stuff, they've managed to make new dinos that are way better than the old ones. Some of the old ones have been obsolete, and they don't really have as many features or functions as they want them to. And this has been an update a lot of people have been like really waiting for and hoping for. So I'm sure you guys have seen this on like other people's channels, but I figured I would kind of like go over it because it's something I'm personally excited about, and it involves some really cool creatures. So I'm looking at it right now. I have a link down to their article down in the description below. But the first thing up is the Direbear here. So I'm gonna read what they say here at the beginning. So Dino TLC preview number 2. Now they're going to end up going through and doing more dinos than what I'm actually, or creatures that I'm actually saying here. But this is kind of like the first rollout of the Dino TLC patch. So at the end of last year, we were very excited to share with you the early progress of the Dino TLC update. We know it's something you guys have been looking forward to for a long time, so here's another update. And they say a bunch of other stuff, but the first thing up here is the Direbear. They say, we believe the Direbear is in a relatively secure place at the moment, though we're planning on making a few changes to it. When riding the Direbear, players will be immune to bees. They won't be able to knock you off your bear, and they will target focus the bear instead of the player. In addition to this change, the bear will also be able to harvest honey from wild beehives without attracting bees or hurting the hive. Plus, the amount of honey it receives will be 2 times the standard amount. So, as you can see from the picture here, they did a lot of changes to the way it looks. It's about the same height. Now, when the bear first came out, I really like the bear, and as you know, I think I've mentioned this in the past, me and German made a Reddit post on the ARK thing saying we want the Arctis, I think it's the Arctis Dirus in ARK. This is before the Direbear came out months before, and ended up getting like a lot of upvotes on the ARK Reddit. And it was something we really wanted. We thought that giant Direbear would be fucking awesome, like, because it is really cool. It's like a really cool creature to put in ARK, and it fits perfectly. The Direbear, as you can see, there's a lot of changes to it. First of all, the biggest change that I think makes the biggest difference is the fur. The fur looks fantastic. If you look at some of the new creatures like the Utyrannus and stuff like that, their fur is on point. It's like really good. And the Direbear kind of just has like clumps or whatever, you know, like it doesn't really look like fur kind of, but I mean, I'm not saying the Direbear looks bad. I thought it looked pretty good at the time. But this new Direbear just kind of blows it out of the water. The fur looks really good. You can see from the elongated snout that it actually has like a face. It doesn't look like a pug anymore. And the eyes, and then just the way everything's kind of shaped up. You can also see the shoulder blades of the front part of the Direbear kind of be raised up too. It looks like it's more beastly and fierce, you know, because Direbears have a lot of strength. They have to be able to stand up in their hind legs, and they also climb, so they're going to have a lot of power when it comes to the front and also the back parts of their bodies. You can see the teeth and stuff look different. There's a lot of things here that like you kind of had to look for, but it looks really different. Even the nose itself actually looks more like a nose. On the old Direbear, it looks kind of like it just pasted on. It doesn't even look like a nose, but on the new one, it actually looks like a nose. It fits perfectly at the end of the snout. You know, everything looks really nice. And along with the new looks and visuals of the Direbear, the new features of the Direbear is really what we were looking for. Of course, having things that look nicer is nice, but having creatures become not very useful and you just kind of put it in your collection to something that you can actually use and want to obtain is like something that's really awesome. Next up, we have the PROCOPTODON, which is also known as the Kangaroo. And this guy has got a lot of visual changes as well, but we're going to go ahead and read what they have. So here's what they're planning. The PROCOPTODON will take reduced fall damage. So I actually didn't know that they didn't take reduced fall damage before. I never really paid that much of attention. You'd figure something that hops really high would already take that, but I guess it didn't. Its carry weight will be noticeably increased, so that's good. It'll be able to carry more, and it'll gain the new ability to carry baby dinos and small creatures in its patch, which I think is awesome. There's no other creatures besides this patch that carries small dinos or babies. So if you want to protect your babies or move them from one location to the other without having to worry about it taking a long time or worrying about them dying, then you can use the PROCOPTODON. Also, we figure that puts the creature in a decent spot, but the suggestion of using the pouch to carry babies was excellent thanks to, you know, r/play ARK. Also, they've forgotten something. Oh yeah, we're going to give it a kick. It'll be pretty tough, and you'll be able to knock back some significantly large creatures. So yeah, a kangaroo with a kick makes complete sense. You know, that's what kangaroos are. Boxers, dude. You know, they're dangerous. Like, they can do a lot of damage. And these new changes, being able to carry dinos, being able to kick, reduced carry weight, and also reduce fall damage, is going to be some sweet changes. It's going to make it definitely a lot more useful. I like any hopping dinos in ARK. Like when the Beelzebuffo came out, the frog, I was like, mwah, this is good. This is really, really good. Like, I love it so much. The frog is one of my favorite creatures in ARK, just because when it first came out, there was like no other hopping creatures that could do that. And it was the best way of getting around the map, besides obviously something that's flying. But even then, like the frog was just, I felt like it was on another level, even from something that flew, because it's like I can actually stay down here on the train, see everything that's down here, and still like get away and move effectively. So yeah, the PROCOPTODON is also in that spot that it's like really, really cool. As for the changes here, you can see they've done the same thing with the DIREBEAR. The face is not as puggy, the snout's elongated, it actually has a real nose, it looks like a real creature instead of something that's just really weird. I thought the kangaroo's face when they first came out with this was just, it looked really weird. I don't know why, it just looks strange, but this new one looks even better. And I'm assuming in the future, if they ever do another TLC patch or visual patch, you know, stuff like games like WoW and stuff do after so many years. I'm not sure if ARK will ever do that, but I'm sure they could even improve it further if they wanted to. But yeah, it looks really good. You can see from the arms and legs that the fur blends in more. You know, it just looks better. The fur actually itself looks better. It's not as clumpy, and the ears look properly placed on the head and look like a proper size. So it just seems like a really cool thing. Next up, we have the Gigantopithecus, aka the Bigfoot. And this guy, just from the visual changes, it looks a hell of a lot better. It went from looking from some like derpy ass creature to something that looks real, menacing, it has real fur, its face actually makes sense and that kind of stuff. Let's see, let's go ahead and read about its changes. So they had quite a few ideas pop in their heads when coming up with some additional abilities for the Bigfoot. Did it need more strength or fighting abilities? What about how well it moves? Could we possibly give it some new features? Ultimately, this is what they've settled on. The Bigfoot will receive an armor degrading attack. That means when it fights, it'll do more damage to your armor's durability. It is important to note that the armor degrading attack will not affect the Yeti creatures found in the game. Its movement needed some work, so we'll be giving it the ability to jump, which I think is good. It's a two-legged bipedal creature. It stands up. It should be able to jump. Yeah, it gives it the ability to jump, which is kind of crucial considering it will need to know how to hop on and off all zip lines. It's going to climb. Yep, that's right. It'll be able to use zip lines. I think this is perfect. This is really good. I hope it grabs it with its hands and climbs with its hands. That's going to be awesome. Imagine being on the back of a Bigfoot and then like climbing zip lines like a monkey. That would be freaking amazing. In addition to these changes, we'll also be improving its throwing ability so it's more accurate, similar to the crab. The crab is really cool. If you've never picked up a creature with a crab and just thrown it across the map, it throws so far. It's actually really funny. It's a really cool feature. They'll also be providing with the ability to carry on its shoulder small creatures and throw them. So basically similar to the crab. But you can also, you could be on its shoulder. I don't know if you probably can't be on its shoulder while it also holds small creatures, but you could probably have the Gigantopithecus follow you around while you have a creature on your shoulder, and let's say you go out and tame another bulldog or featherlight or whatever, you know, some kind of riding creature or shoulder riding creature, and you don't want to throw away your old one, you can stick it onto the Gigantopithecus, assuming, you know, that with mods that'll be on other maps and that kind of shit. As for its looks, I think it looks really good. Its face actually looks more human, more like monkey, you know what I mean? Like it looks like more of a face. Its nose is better, like I said before. Before it looked like its face kind of sunk in the middle, and its eyes were just like really big and wide, and now it looks like also the same thing for the fur. The fur blends in more. It actually looks like real fur. I think it looks really good. Like there's not really much to say about it besides it just looking good. It also looks a little beefier too. Its arms and forearms look beefier, and it still has like the gut and stuff. The body shape hasn't changed that much. It's mostly the face, and you see as from the head, if you look at it from the side view, it actually looks like its chin is more faced upwards too. So it looks definitely really cool. Now the last one is the Direwolf. Now, what they said here is the changes that look really good. Honestly, I think this is probably the weakest one out of all of them. I think the new wolf does look good, definitely better than the old one, but there's something weird about its face that I don't think looks quite right. But before we get to that, we're gonna go ahead and go over its abilities here. What are the wolves good for? Hunting. Now, if you're a wolf and you're hunting, what exactly are you gonna rely on most? Your nose. In phase 1 of the update, we'll be introducing a new ability, a passive buff, as well as changing how its howl and pack buff currently work. First of all, the howl activate the pack buff for the duration of time. We're thinking 5 minutes right now. That means it won't be active all the time, but to compensate, we'll be strengthening the buff to make the wolf stronger. As a little bonus is that when the alpha wolf howls, so will the others. We're also planning to make this mechanic play out with wild wolves as well. As for the nose, we're doing 2 things. We'll be providing it with the passive buff, which allows it to sniff out people or creatures with less than 50% health, and this will be indicated via an icon. Think of it like a hunter's instinct. Secondly, we'll be giving a sniff, a tertiary ability, so tertiary is third, obviously, to indicate nearby explorer notes, as well as detect stealth or buried creatures. And finally, so actually this is a countermeasure if you're doing a raid and people have the little creatures that bury and jump up and attack. And also for anything that has like a turret mode or a bury mode that's invisible, this will be kind of like a countermeasure for that kind of thing, which I think is actually kind of cool. To be honest, it won't be necessarily useful for PvE players like myself, unless I take one out in the wild and you see the wild creatures that bury under. But yeah, as for its looks here, I think it looks good. The fur looks better, obviously. It has more of a clumpy mane, and the fur seems to be a little bit thinner on the body. Its claws look better. Its legs look a little better. I think it doesn't look quite as good as it possibly could be, but the face definitely has more detail, looks more wolf-like before. Unlike the one from before that looks just kind of weird. It doesn't even really look like a wolf compared to the new one. You know what I mean? The ears also look better. So yeah. Anyways, the last one is the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, the new Tyrannosaurus Rex definitely looks different, mostly in the face area. The body doesn't have that many changes. And I think here, let me go ahead and just read what the abilities are here. So the Tyrannosaurus Rex is a pretty strong place at the moment. It's considered one of the top tier creatures. It is used continuously to fight bosses, as well as often seen in PvP. So we didn't want to give it too many changes to avoid making it overpowered. Here's what our plan is. We're going to improve its movement climbing ability so that it doesn't get stuck behind small rocks and climb up steeper slopes. This is a godsend. Like, if you ever used a T-Rex for something like a Spino or something, like, well, also, honestly, the follow AI in any creature is just horrible. It's just really bad, and especially creatures that can be stuck on trees and behind rocks and that kind of stuff. Like, this is going to be a godsend, really. We're also planning on changing the roar. When targeting an enemy and using the roar, the enemy will be forced to poop. There will also be a cooldown on both the Rex and people who have recently pooped, so you can't poop block them with 10 Rexes. Okay, that's actually kind of funny. So it'll have like a fear roar. That's funny. That's actually really funny, and anything around will poop. That's actually hilarious. And that pretty much covers it for phase 1 of the TLC patch. Let us know what you think and whether we're missing anything glaringly obvious. So they didn't really change much with the Rex, but here, let's just go ahead and read the rest of this. We're also planning, not definite, on carrying out more visual changes to the fallen creatures: Spino, Sarco, Carno, Raptor, Female Megalosaurus, or Megaloceros, which is the deer, the Plesio, and the Argy. Let us know what you'd like to see improved with those, as well as any of the creatures you think might need some love that we were overlooking. Honestly, I might do another video talking about some changes that might be good for these creatures, but for now, we're going to talk about the way the Rex looks here. The Rex, it definitely looks more fierce. Honestly, I think the visual upgrade is good, but in the case with the Rex, I don't think they really did enough with it. I think it looks better, obviously, but I don't think they really did enough with it to make it, like, it's not like 1,000 times better compared to some of the other creatures. It just looks better, you know what I mean? So it definitely looks cool, and I think the poop thing is cool, but I mean, they really didn't do that much, it seems like. The body size seems to be closely the same. It seems like some of the proportions are a little bit different. The arms are a little bit different, and especially the face are a little bit different. So yeah, you guys can see that from the pictures. Anyways, guys, tell me what you think down below of the new TLC patch. Anything you want changed to any of the creatures I mentioned before, like the Spino, the Megaloceros, the Carno, Raptor, Female, or the Plesio, and the Argy, and that kind of stuff. If you have any ideas for anything that's also what I talked about here, make sure to comment down below. Love your faces. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.